What's up, guys? Hope you're all having a great Sunday. I just felt a little bit inspired and motivated to share something that I came up with you guys. We all talk a lot about parameters being important. Simple things to help you remember principles of what we're trying to do here are very important. And you may hear Danny in the background; she's on the other side of the room playing. But anyway, acronyms are also very helpful in setting those parameters and in defining the way that we should be living our life. And so I came up with something that I think is very fitting for the branding of the Get Better Academy. But I was kind of writing some notes about some things that I wanted in my own life, and this kind of came up for me, and I actually spent a couple hours figuring out how best to communicate it and things like that. And I'm excited to share it with you. So wanted to just run you through what I like to call at this point the better way. And this is essentially what we've been talking about if you've been a client of mine for any amount of time. Generally speaking, with everything that you've been trying to do with your training, with our mindset shifts, with the way that we're relating to our emotions and mind, this is a really good framework and an acronym to remember when you are in a place where you need to make a decision, or you're trying to figure out where to go next or what to do next. You can think, does this decision align with the better way? Or does this kind of contradict any of these concepts that we're about to talk about here? So, this is, like it says, just a checklist for ensuring alignment and forward momentum on your journey, whether it's fitness or otherwise. So first, we want to talk about the body. And that's kind of the main reason most of you come into a program, is that we want to get fitter, we want to lose weight, we want to maybe gain weight, we want to build muscle, lose fat, whatever. So when you're thinking about decisions that you make with your body, there's four main things, and we've talked about these before. They are nutrition, the right stuff in the right quantity, with the right quality at the right times. We've talked about, many of us, how macronutrients and the food that you bring into your body, that's how you directly communicate with your body. Each different nutrient, each different micronutrient, they send a different message. And when they're received in different ways, just like when we're communicating, there's context around what I'm saying. There's the way that I'm using my body language. There's the way that I'm emphasizing words. I'm putting the right emphasis on the right syllable, right? The same words, AKA the same nutritional content, the same foods, can be interpreted by your body differently. And that's why, any of you coming on to a fitness program with me, you experienced the tracking phase where I kind of understood what your communication style was with your body to begin with, so that we can change it in the right way specifically for you. Number two is movement. And this is, your strength training, your conditioning, your mobility, developing your athleticism, making sure that the whole body is balanced and in control, reducing injury, improving performance through appropriate programming. When you're thinking about what should I do for my exercise today, or should I do my workouts today, that's kind of what we're thinking of there with number two. Next up is hydration. It's one that we all talk about, no matter what your goal is, whether you want to gain weight, lose weight, burn fat, build muscle, athleticism, get healthy, get off meds, whatever. Increasing your level of hydration on a daily, weekly, monthly basis is going to help with that. Sort of the standard that's set is that the 8 cups, the 64 fluid ounces a day. I always talk to you guys about upping that to a gallon, because it's really important as you get into an athletic program, and especially as you have specific goals. Most of you guys are weight loss, some of you are weight gain, but either way, having the ability for your body to clear out those toxins at all times is benefited greatly by being hydrated on a consistent basis, and your body understanding that it's going to get what it needs on a daily basis. And then lastly, something that we don't necessarily talk about as much, but it's just as important as the other three, is your sleep. Everyone should be getting at least 7 hours a night. I know for some people, high achievers, grinders, people with a crazy schedule, that might seem insane, that might seem unrealistic, but that bare minimum of 7 a night is going to get you rested to a place where you're able to A, perform the next day, but B, sleep is when your brain and your body processes all of the inputs that you put into it. So you did a workout today, you ate really healthy, you drank your water, you read some in your book, you got some stuff done at work, you practiced a skill, any of those things and more beyond. You don't actually get better from having done those things until you sleep. Hypothetically speaking, this is literally impossible, but if you never slept, but you trained every single day, You would never get stronger. You would never, your body composition would never change, because sleep is when your body, like I said, processes that information, applies, patches or changes or fixes in order to adapt to that previous day's inputs, so that your output on the next day can be better. 8 to 9 hours is optimal. And again, that's really pushing it for really busy and high performing people. But there's ways that you can manipulate your schedule to try to kind of sandwich that in. There's, apps on your phone that can tell you when you need to go to bed to get up at this hour with this many hours of sleep. A lot of us, myself included, at the end of the day, really like to just sit on the couch and veg out, watch TV, or, something that I've talked to a lot of you guys about is that sometimes at night you just end up staying up late just because that's your free time and you want to enjoy your free time. And the sooner you go to bed, the sooner you got to get up and go to work or school or whatever the next day. That's a mindset shift in itself that could be a whole nother video, in terms of like your expectation for your time at work or school or whatever, your non-free time. But either way, that sacrifice, even just for a time of sacrificing that time at the end of your day to get yourself that extra 1 to 2 hours of sleep, is so important and will be so beneficial if you're not already doing that. So we talked about B, we got E now, energetics. It's a blend of the body and the mind. So when you think your energetics, your energy levels, you're thinking, how physically able am I to go do my workout, or just, be vibrant throughout the day. It also includes your mental state. So if we just want to define energized, or how I look at it, you being energized, it's a state of physical capacity and mental acuity to engage in necessary and beneficial activities throughout the day that move you in a positive direction, even if or when said tasks are difficult, uncomfortable, or not as accessible as the less optimal decisions. So every single day you're faced with those kind of this or that decisions. Do I want the bag of chips, or would I rather, cut up some fruit, or, have something a little bit healthier than the chips for that snack? It might be a little more uncomfortable. It might be a harder decision. And if you're more energized in this definition, you are going to be more likely to be able to make that positive decision. So when you're energized, in that definition above, we see that there are physical aspects and mental aspects. So this is the peak where factors in the previous quality of body that we just talked about, and the next quality that we're about to talk about in thoughts, meet in perfect optimization. Becoming energized in this definition can't be achieved without both of these two parts in alignment. So this one's kind of sandwiched in by the two factors that create it. So up next, I know, Danny, is thoughts. This is your internal messaging about yourself and your perceptions about the world around you. So again, there's kind of two main things that you think about on any given time. It's you think about yourself, who you are, what you're about, what you're doing, what you're going to do. And you think about the world around you. This is the people, your job, your environment, the weather, your dog, whatever. Anything that's not you that affects you, that's the second thing you think about. You think about yourself, and you think about the world around you. Is how you perceive those things, because one thing can be perceived very differently by two people. There's a cliche that you've all probably heard, but if not, it may kind of blow your mind a little bit, but it's the thoughts to destiny cliche. And it goes like this: you need to watch what your thoughts are, because your thoughts determine your words, and your words end up determining your actions, and your actions determine your habits, and your habits determine your personality, and your personality kind of defines what your destiny is going to be moving through life. And I may have skipped a couple steps in there, but you get it. These small things like your thoughts on a daily basis have that ripple effect. If you've ever seen The Butterfly Effect or heard of that movie, it's a crazy thought. I'm sure you all have. But these small things like your thoughts are going to affect where you end up at the end of your life or in the middle of your life, and how much you enjoy it. It speaks to your subconscious mind, which controls everything about who you are and the decisions you make. And it can be easily influenced by what we speak, think, and observe on a daily basis. I've talked to most of you about this system, this phenomenon. If you're telling yourself every single day, I am happy and healthy, your subconscious mind, your brain is going to believe it. If you keep telling yourself or receiving information that says, I'm out of shape, sad, poor, broke, never in a good relationship, whatever, your brain is going to believe it. What's the significance of that? Well, it's called confirmation bias. And it sort of means whatever you speak to yourself on a constant basis will become who you are to your brain. So again, if you're constantly telling yourself that you're happy, you're healthy, even if you're not quite there yet, it's not like just saying those affirmations to yourself or thinking that to yourself is actually going to get you there. No. But when you start to say that to yourself and try to believe it over and over, your brain will start to seek out the decisions and information that support that idea. Just like if you're taking in negative media, if you're talking negatively to yourself, you're going to keep making those bad decisions because that's what your brain is used to searching for. It's not like these decisions are going to be easier. It's not necessarily like the bad decisions are going to go away if you just start telling yourself that you are the way that you want to be. But the part of your brain that sees opportunity and sees risk, sees pain and sees pleasure will start to get calibrated towards the direction that you're communicating to yourself on a constant basis. When it's in a negative state, we call this a vicious cycle where, I am out of shape and sad. So you see the ice cream in the fridge and you decide to sit down on the couch for 2.5 hours watching something on Netflix and you eat that whole thing of ice cream, which is only going to make you fatter and sadder, right? Versus when you start to flip the script and you start telling yourself that you are the way that you want to be, you create a virtuous cycle. Same principle, only, maybe you're out of shape, but you start to tell yourself, I am a person who is strong, fit, athletic, and happy. So when you have that moment, you see the ice cream, what you're going to see on the other side of the counter are your headphones. You'll be like, wait, I haven't gone for my run today yet. Maybe I should go and do that. And then maybe I'll have the ice cream afterwards. So then you grab the headphones instead because that aligns with what you're saying that you are. You go for your run, you come back, you don't even want the ice cream anymore because you're on such a high that you made the right decision and you got the runner's high and everything like that. So breaking the vicious cycle and creating the virtuous cycle is a crucial step in the process of getting better in any area of your life, fitness, anything else. I could list a million other things, finances, relationships, whatever. You've got to create these cycles that are going to become feedback loops in a positive way. Second T and better is time. This is not necessarily something that we've talked about as much, but when I was making this out, it really stuck out to me as an important factor that we need to address more. Because time is the most common obstacle for people. So time, how do you view and use the time that you have day to day? Also, what do you think of time in the longer term sense? So like I said, I don't have the time is the most common excuse for not working on yourself, training, reading, sleeping enough, spending time with loved ones and family. You just don't have the time. An interesting exercise that I've done with some of you is that if I've ever heard you say, my schedule's about to get crazy, I don't know when I'm going to have time to do this workout, I've probably told you, hey, I want you to sit down with a Google Calendar or whatever scheduler you use, even if it's on pen and paper. And I want you to schedule out every hour of your day for a week and see how much free time you actually have. So if you're a college student who also works, that's like one of the busiest kinds of people. Maybe you go to class from 8 to 11, lunch break till 12, class again from 12 to 2, and then you've got maybe an hour or two off. Then you go to work at 4 or 5 and you're at work until 11, say, perhaps. It's just an example. So let's just say that's your day every single week. We understand that, it's possible to get up a little earlier before 8. It's a challenge, but it's possible. Of course, we want to factor in those sleep kind of calculations at the end of the day for work. We do have that hour lunch break. We wouldn't want to take that away from you to be able to eat. And then we do have that hour or two break between your last class and work, where you can get some work done on yourself. And then even if you want to be as hardcore as, you get off work at 11, you go for a run, and then you go to bed, who am I to stop you? But most of the time, schedules are a little more dynamic than that. Oftentimes, you're not doing the same exact thing every single day. So we can often find little gaps in our schedule. Maybe you have an hour or two of TV time. Maybe you sit in bed and scroll on your phone for an hour before you go to bed. Maybe you're a gamer. Maybe you sleep a little bit too late, and we can kind of pull back our wake up time, or any other kind of things. There are ways to manipulate your day to create time to get done the things that need to happen in order for you to get better. The other side of the time piece is not only the short term, the day, the week, how am I going to get my action steps done? There's the morbid-ish concept of, life is short. And before you know it, things are going to start speeding up and you're going to be getting older. And eventually the two constants in life, as the saying goes, is death and taxes. And, tax time has already passed this year. So for me personally, in my life, a lot of you guys know this. I have had a very interesting experience over the last 4 years. I lost both parents in the span of 2 years. I lost my dad about 4 years ago, and my mom passed away in 2019, late 2019. So this idea of like our time being cut short before we realize that it's even coming up is very near and dear to me right now. I recognize that we're all on a schedule. And so this can create a lot of anxiety, negative emotion, and energy, but also it should motivate and excite you to create a life that is worth this sort of short amount that we have. So this is a cool illustration that I found online. I don't remember what I Googled, but I think you can just Google like life lived versus life yet to live or something like that is what I did. And it came to this website that created this chart for me. So the white blocks is the life that I've lived so far. I created this image in April. And then the blue blocks or the teal blocks is the time that I have left according to the American average lifespan. Could be longer, could be not as long, either way. It's just a good illustration. So when I'm looking at this image myself, it looks like I'm a little under 1/3 of the way through, my life expectancy. So it stirs a couple of emotions in me. It says, wow, look at how much time has already passed. You wake up each morning and you're not like, wow, I feel like I've been alive for 28 years. No, you maybe think, how old am I? 28 years old. Whoa. Didn't I like just turn 18? Like that was such a big moment for me. And now I'm like 10 years later, whoa. So it just puts things into context, but also, frankly, no matter where you lie on this chart, a lot of you guys are different ages. So I know there might be some people's who looks a little bit different, but when I look at this, I see all the teal that's left. Each little block is a massive amount of opportunity to fill it with meaning, with progress, with growth, with fun, with relationships, with a chance to impact others' lives. So at the same time, I see that it's finite. I see that there is a bottom right block where hypothetically, if I were to live exactly to the expectancy, that's where my time would end. So the time piece in the Better Method is all about both making sure that you are using the time that you have day to day, week to week in the most productive and optimal way for the balance of the progress you want to make and your mental health. And then it's also looking at the big picture of your entire life and understanding, okay, I'm here. I have until here. What do I want to fill that time with? And having that context, that greater context in every decision you make moment to moment. So then moving into emotions might seem kind of similar to thoughts, but here's what I wanted to define this as. So they're different than thoughts. It's the way in which your body communicates your subconscious reactions to the world and events around you. Connected to thoughts, but different once again. So again, to repeat, it's the way in which your body communicates to you. So if you are injured, if you have some kind of an issue in your body, if you see something that affects you deeply in a positive or negative way, this is a reaction in your body. Emotions are created by chemical compounds and hormones. High or low levels of these substances in your body create the healthy fluctuations in your perceived mood, but chronic imbalances can lead to those more intensive emotional distresses and disorders like chronic depression, chronic anxiety, those diseases in which your body is not creating the right balance of these chemicals and hormones that put you in, say, a fight or flight response or in a very sad place. Or some people experience both, where you have the manic side and the depressive side, and there's just some kind of feedback loop going back and forth. So there's a lot to be said for emotional responses that we can control, for inputs that we can use in order to optimize our emotional state. there are some situations in which our emotional state can't be controlled. Take Danny, for instance. She's a baby and nothing happened, but all of a sudden she decided that she was sad and that she wanted to give us a sample of that sad affect, that sad emotion. Here's a quick list of a lot of the chemicals that are a lot of the main players in these sort of affect changes. Like I said, all these substances have their place and are needed for a healthy body and mind. It's how we perceive these shifts in emotion. This is the important part. It's how we perceive these shifts in our emotions, listen to them, learn from them, and adapt accordingly that matters and that we can control. And that's what we can control. So you may wake up one day and just feel extremely sad and not understand why. You look at that emotion and you can either just ride that wave and just be sad all day and, be glued to the couch, not be productive, not get your action tasks done in your program or otherwise. Or you can take a moment and you can try to separate yourself from that emotion for a moment. Not trying to say you can just turn it off, but separate yourself from that emotion for a moment, observe it objectively, say, this is sadness. This is my body trying to communicate something to me, whether it's misguided or not. Again, in the case of an imbalance, what has happened in the last 24, 48 hours that could have caused this to be the message that my body wants to send me right now? And that's not necessarily going to clear things up for you. Another thing to consider is that emotions come and go. Emotions are fleeting sometimes, and you may feel sad for the first half of your day and be ecstatic the next half of the day without that sort of negative imbalance connotation. So those two things, recognizing the emotion for what it is, which is your body trying to communicate to you, and two, understanding that any emotion, good or bad, is probably not going to last forever. The phrase, this too shall pass, whether it's good or it's bad. You're in a good mood, this too shall pass. You're in a bad mood, this too shall pass. So having that perspective shift on your emotions and understanding that it is your body trying to communicate something to you can be very helpful in moving through those challenging times and trying to stay in those higher affect moments, because that's what we all want, right? And then lastly, in the Better Method, we look at our relationships. So this is how the interactions with those around you, from the husband, wife to the stranger on the street, affect you, affect those around you, and affect the state of the whole world. So we're getting very big picture here. We started very small picture with like the application of principles to benefit your body and your mind and your energy and things like that. And now we're taking that and applying it to how you interact with the world and you receive the interactions that the world gives you. So this is essentially the culmination of who you're trying to become in the journey of getting better, again, in any area of your life. All boats rise together. I say that all the time. When every other layer of your life falls into place, your relationships will follow suit. You're going to be more confident. So you're going to bring a better version of yourself to every conversation, to every interaction. Excuse me. You're going to treat others with more respect and empathy because you've done the work on yourself and you understand the challenge that, if somebody's giving you a hard time or if somebody's just hard to deal with, you may more easily recognize that maybe they're struggling with something and they need to get better in an area of their life that is pulling this area, their relationships, down, because you've been through that. You've been through the stage of working to get better. And now you're on the other side of the mountain and you're seeing them trying to, struggle at the bottom. So you can have that more empathy and have better interactions with people that are even, a challenge to be around. You're going to have an increased confidence in interaction when all the boats rise. That I hadn't even gotten to that bullet yet, and I already went over it. More empathy for others struggling for what you've conquered. You're going to have a better ability to use the things that you've developed in your getting better journey to help others. Your physical strength, your mental fortitude, your emotional intelligence, all of those things are going to play a role in making sure that your relationships with everyone else are on point. As your relationships with friends and strangers alike find a greater sense of balance, your life will become more fulfilling and meaningful. And really, that's why we're here. Anybody who's in, the coaching program with me right now, you got asked that 12 months question of, what does the perfect version of you in your life look like 1 year from now? You know, a lot of you guys, your goal might have taken 12 weeks, 24 weeks to get to, or we're on a recurring coaching basis, but it's always good to look at the bigger picture of the future and say, what impact do I want to have on my life? What impact do I want to have the capacity to have on other people's lives? Usually when I ask that 12 months question, there's weight loss or weight gain, there's physique change, there's health change, but then there's also something bigger. I want to be able to impact others. I want to be able to interact with my family in a more positive way. I need more confidence to get back into the dating scene. That's what all of this is about, guys. It's not just that we're working on our physicality. We're not just working on our physique, the way that we look. We're not just trying to build a six pack or lift, 20 more pounds on deadlift than we did last cycle. It's about using those things as tools to build yourself, to build your life, and then based on those two things, to build the world into a better place. It's really a big picture, and we don't have to think that way all the time, but it's beneficial to understand that just like in your life, all boats rise together. If your boat rises, my boat rises, because we're all on this thing together. We're all in this thing together. And just like all these songs and sayings say, if you want to change the world, start with yourself, right? Looking at the man in the mirror. Oh yeah, that was bad. But you get what I'm saying. So that's the better way. That's something that I came up with. I definitely wanted to share it with you. If any of you guys watched this whole thing, kudos to you. I know it probably went a little longer than I wanted it to. But, we're thinking about our body. We're thinking about our energetics. We're thinking about our thoughts. We're thinking about our time, thinking about our thoughts. That's funny. We're thinking about our emotions. And then with all of those getting better all the time, our relationships now can start to improve. And so I would invite you, if you've enjoyed this and if you've gotten anything out of it, just to take a moment and really reflect and see the last week, day, month, hours, if you've been making decisions that align with this better way. And if you've been treating your body, your energetics, your thoughts, your time, your emotions, and your relationships in a way that are truly going to elevate you in everything that you do. Okay. So, if you feel like it, leave a comment with your thoughts. If there's, any questions that you have about this whole concept, let me know. I'm about to put this crying baby to a nap. So that was good timing. She waited until I got done to really sort of break down. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I hope you're all ready to crush another great week of getting better. Thanks, guys.